Hi everybody, this is Linda with Overbrook Quilt Connection, and today we are doing block 24, which is called Pine Nuts. We are going to be making a bunch of units. There's a lot of pieces in this block, but nothing difficult about it. So we'll be making lots of different units here. We start with half square triangles, just regular old half square triangles. And you square them up to 4 1/4 inches, which I think is maybe a little bit different size than we've used before, but 4 1/4. Then after you square them up, then you're going to put a little, let me see, it is a 1 3/4 inch square. You're going to put on the corner, the background corner. And of course, you know, the snowballing technique where you draw a line. You can see that. Draw a line corner to corner diagonally. And then so just on the inside edge of that towards the point, so right on the inside edge of that line, then press it back, make sure it matches the original outline of your square, and then trim it off 1/4 inch away, pressing towards the little point. You'll make 4 of those. And then the next unit we make is a center unit that also measures 4 1/4. You start with a 4 1/4 inch background square, and then you're going to snowball all 4 corners. So when you're done, you have this, and again, you're pressing towards the outside points. Okay, so we've got then this unit for the center. All right, next we're making some mirror image pieces. You're going to take your your dark, you're going to make your dark, take your dark 4 1/4 inch by 1 3/4 inch rectangles. And you will be making, so you have a background on one end and a medium or light on the opposite end. They both go parallel to each other. Both squares, you'll put a medium one on one end and a background on the other. And when you stitch them, they're both parallel to each other. Again, you need to make sure that it matches your outside edge, but on all of these, you want to press them towards the dark. That way they're going to nest up with other seams later. So you'll do that on both ends. And you end up with units that look like this. Okay, you're going to make 4 like that. Then you're going to do 4 that are mirror image. And by mirror image, I mean when they are, whoops, let me find one first. When they are placed next to each other, they make this kind of arrow looking pattern where you have the points where they meet each other. Now they're not actually going to meet each other when you sew them into the block. So again, you want to press those towards your dark. They, again, they are parallel to each other, but they are opposite parallel of the first set you make. Again, press both sets of 4, press them all to the dark. Okay, then the last units we make are our little medium rectangles and our background squares, and you'll make 4 of those as well, and I press them towards the background, again, so they will nest with the other pieces. So we're going to start assembling, and the assembly is going to be one of each of those units beside on either side of that last unit that we made. So you're going to assemble them like that, and then one of the corners will be on one of the corner units will be on either side. And let me turn this so you can see it the correct orientation. So this is coming down into so that's how you're constructing your top and bottom rows. Then we also will construct these same units, but they will be put on either side of that center unit. So let me put these together in rows, and then I'll show you how to put the rest of the block together. I have these the 4 pieced units for the centers done, and they do match here at these match points. You've got a diagonal coming into a straight seam, so it's kind of an awkward match. But if you're pretty accurate on your seam allowance, on following your lines when you're sewing these seams, and you're accurate with your 1/4 inch seam allowance here, these match pretty darn good without really doing anything special. Now, if yours don't match, then you can do a pin match, which means putting a pin right where, see where that crosses? You would put a pin through where, so it'd be 1/4 of an inch from the edge and 1/4 of an inch up from your seam allowance would be where you'd put your pin on this side. And then on this side, it should come through at the 1/4 inch, on your seam line. And so if those two things match, if you can kind of stand a pin up in that and have those two things match, then that's how you can kind of correct that if yours don't match naturally. Hopefully you will be lucky enough that they will just match naturally. Also, make sure down here at this edge that your seam allowance stays true, because that's how you get your 1/4 inch. So when you sew the next seam, that the points on the dark won't get cut off. So let me proceed some more, and I'll be back to show you the rows. I have the rows done, and my goodness, this block is going to be so pretty. The center is going to make this big circle, and I have a cat that is wanting to walk across here. Let me pause and put her away. All right, let's try this again. Okay, the center is going to make this big circle when all the rows are put together. And wow, I'm just loving how this block is coming along. When you choose your colors, you don't have to put a focus fabric out here if you don't want. You can put, more of this, or, you can do whatever you want. As we're getting this far into the project, I'm kind of looking at what do I have lots of, what do I still have quite a bit of, and what do I think would look good in the contrast of how the pattern, the contrast that the pattern appears to have for each block. So anyhow, I want you to use your imagination on how you'd put these together. But anyhow, let me talk to you about match points again. Since we pressed the original half square triangles, we pressed out and the corners out. And since we pressed both of these in, then we have nesting going on here and here and here and here. So it's really easy to match these up, the top and bottom rows. Then the center row, you kind of have the same thing going on that we had here, where you have an angle coming in, to a straight. So just make sure, you can kind of see. Let me see if I can get this to where you can see it. It's kind of like it is with a flying goose. You have a seam that comes straight down from these seams here and the diagonal seam coming across. And you just kind of want to hit just right on the outside edge of that X, like that. And that then will allow you to get that in without cutting off your points. These seams, the top and bottom, I pressed in, and these I pressed out. So then they will nest here. So again, when I'm sewing, my seams all have match points here and here, and of course my seam lines, and here in the center again. So there's a fair amount of match points on each side. So let me get those done, and then I'll come back. We still need to do sashing on this, on the outside of this block. All right, the center part of this block is done. Oh my gosh, I think this is one of my favorite blocks of this entire series. I love it. Just remember, it's not one you're going to finish in 15 or minutes or even maybe even an hour, but just plug away. It is, you know, a lot of the same snowballing. So, you know, just plug away at it and you will get it finished. We still need to put sashing on two sides. So you have an 11, your block should measure 11 3/4 at this point. So you have an 11 3/4 inch piece and then a 12.5 inch piece. So you're going to sash two sides of your block like we've done several times to get it up to the right size. So I will do that. I'll come back and show you the final block. All right, I've now sashed this block on two sides, as you can see. And so now here is our finish. Again, I just love this block. I just think it's so pretty. I hope that you are as equally happy with yours when you get it done. Again, this is block 24, and it is called Pine Nut. So anyhow, I'll see you back tomorrow for block 25. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.